Greetings from LA, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would like to continue on with our journeys, our discussions, our discoveries, and our explorations with respect to the recent releases made by the Criterion Collection during this year of 2023. And specifically, I'd like to continue on and indeed conclude the series of video discussions that I've had here with regard to this wonderful set from Criterion, this multi-disc Blu-ray set, which is designated collectively at spine number 1194, and it is right here. Tod Browning's Sideshow Shockers. Over the course of a number of videos on this channel, we have been speaking about some aspects of this set and perhaps specifically on the films that are included in this set, each directed by Tod Browning. Those are Freaks, The Unknown, and The Mystic. And they all fall on one of two Blu-ray discs that forms the collection of this set from Criterion. And so I'd like to take this opportunity, if I may, just to bring up some additional points and also maybe bring the conversations to a type of conclusion, and then we can go from there. So one thing I want to point out, just as an overall discussion point, is the packaging and the presentation design here. This is in a digipack presentation, and as you can see, it's in this wonderful digipack form with this great artwork that is on the front, and then it has this section in the back. It has the Sideshow Shockers is the title of the set, and it does have that idea of a kind of sideshow marquee look and feel to it, which is also, I think, adorning the outer shell and then the inner shell, which is right here. Very interesting decor, and has that quality to it about all the way down to, say, the interior design here of the inner shell, and also the booklet here, the booklet here, which has a type of notebook quality to it, which I think has a this feeling of the connectivity with sideshows and maybe science or pseudoscience. And also this idea of note-taking, etc. I think it has this palpable handmade quality about it, which I think is very apropos of the sideshow aesthetic. And I think that's really wonderful. And I love this design. Incidentally, the casing houses the two discs, as so they are stacked one on top of each other, but not touching each other. So that's good in terms of not touching for the sake of the undersides of the Blu-ray discs. And then the booklet, I should just point out before we talk about the essay, it's just a carry-on of the wonderful let's say almost extravagantly presented, dazzling, eye-catching way of presenting some of the still images with the figures of the still images, plus in the background a type of after effect applied sensibility, which is a consideration or continuation of this what one might call the sideshow aesthetic. I think it's done really well, and I love the use of the font and everything, and that's also taken here with this display here. It has a hand-drawn quality to it, which I think is very effective. In terms of the art directors, Eric Skillman, Sarah Habibi, designer Raphael Gironi, and art production coordinator William Brazen, art assistant Julie Sussman. This is really a knockout. This art design is a knockout, and this total package is a knockout. I'm also a big fan of the Digipack booklet, or the Digibook format, and I just love how it's employed here. Really well done indeed. Brilliant stuff. So that's the packaging aspect of this. And while I have the booklet out, I put it away, but I should have also taken the opportunity to talk about the contents, which I'll do right now. I've spoken a little bit about some of the contents here. There's the first section of this booklet. It's a staple booklet, by the way, which I love. And the first section has some pages devoted to each of the films respectively. So some pages devoted to Freaks, and then including a write-up, cast and crew details, and some pictures. And then the next couple pages, or few pages devoted to The Unknown. Again, same thing, write-up, cast and crew details. And then some pages devoted to The Mystic. Again, a write-up and cast and crew details. I should point out maybe an interesting maybe a comment, if I may. The films are not presented in chronological order. I should point out that Blu-ray disc number 1, it's so designated by what it says on the disc itself. Blu-ray disc number 1 has Freaks on it. And then Blu-ray disc number 2 has The Unknown and The Mystic. So if we recall the years as described in the booklet, Freaks is from 1932, The Unknown is 1927, and then The Mystic is 1925. So if we go by the order in which they are said to appear, with Blu-ray disc number 1 being first, and then Blu-ray disc number 2, the order in which the two films appear is The Unknown, then The Mystic, plus also how they appear on the front cover of this packaging as well as the back. Here we have Freaks, then The Unknown, then The Mystic. One might say that the order of films that is presented here is Freaks, which is 32, and then The Unknown, which is 27, and The Mystic, which is 25. So it's in reverse order if you're going by the chronological year. So that's an interesting take. It's usually, I mean, maybe not customary, but it's often the case, or it wouldn't have been surprising to have seen the films arranged in the chronological order, starting with The Mystic, then The Unknown, then Freaks. But it takes nothing away from the fact that the films are still there and they're included. So, and perhaps if, Freaks being a really, really well-known film, it probably made it something of putting it on, say, the top of the marquee. I note that, for instance, the cover art design, it does say Freaks, the word Freaks, in very prominent lettering in terms of size and the placement. Perhaps it's the most notable of the 3 titles that appear in the front cover. So it might have something to do with how this is marketed. After all, it might be said that Freaks is perhaps the most well-known of the 3 films for a number of people concerned. So that might have something to do with it. But in any event, just note that order. I don't think one has to stick with that order when watching the films. I mean, you can watch the films in any particular order that you prefer, but just keep that in mind for the sake of, say, kind of how the films might be said to be arranged. But it's a very, very minor point, and I don't think it harms the actual experience of the films in the set at the end of the day, not in the slightest. But I just keep that in mind. I put the booklet back, but now let me return to it. So that's an issue, not issue, but that's the point about the order of films as they seem to appear. But then going to one of the main attractions of the booklet is the Farren Smith-Nemi essay, which is called Tod Browning's Ballyhoo Art. And this is a wonderful kind of retrospective overview of the life and times of Tod Browning, done in this brilliantly conceived and well-written tone and style essay. It's a very excellent essay, and I love how it also goes into great depth into each of the films respectively. So it does have a section on The Mystic, it has a section on The Unknown, it also has a section on Freaks, and talks about many of the historical significance of these films after the fact of their release, etc. So, and also in the context of Tod Browning's career and the careers of, say, Lon Chaney and others that are involved. So. What a great essay, Farren Smith-Nemi essay. I'm a big fan of this, and my, again, strong recommendation is please watch the films first, all of them, The Mystic and The Unknown and Freaks, and then after you've seen the films, then you can read this great essay by Farren Smith-Nemi, which is called, once again, Tod Browning's Ballyhoo Art. And I just love the paper, little details like this, like the paper itself, the paper quality to the touch or to the feel. It's this thick type of paper, and so I like that, with the cover, the front and the front and the back having a slightly thicker feel to it. At least that's my sense about it. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just love overall the thickness of it, and so well done for this. Just the materials that are used, I think, really add to that. Again, one of the things about physical media is just the palpable nature of it. And so little details like this, I think, really stand out at the end of the day. So that's the packaging, that's the essay. And then if I were to point out a few maybe points of critical points I could raise, I might have mentioned this in some of the other video discussions on the set, but curiously, most of the supplements that occur when you press the button, they don't have the explanatory note in the Blu-ray menu for one reason or another. So I'm not sure about that, but that's a very minor point. Although, as I mentioned, I believe that context is very important. So the more context that could have been supplied in terms of a description of these supplements, I think it would have been really helpful for that. But that's okay because we have the supplements, which at the end of the day I think speak for themselves in a manner of speaking. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, I should say that it's great to have the supplements for The Unknown, which had its own commentary track. Also, the supplement that was included with The Unknown. That discussion, I think, as I described, it could be considered to be not necessarily the unknown specific, but also discussion of Tod Browning's work overall, including the three films overarching. So it would have been interesting to have other supplements that are devoted to the unknown, or maybe some other aspects of, say, the Lon Chaney Tod Browning collaboration, etc. But in any event, we do get the great commentary track and an explanatory note about the score. Now, for the Mystic, we get a brief introduction by about the Mystic, but we don't get any commentary track, at least as far as I understand it. We do get a written explanatory note about the score that's used, which is very fascinating. But it would have been interesting to have seen some additional supplements about maybe other aspects of Tod Browning's work. Maybe a commentary track might have been interesting, but oh well, that's okay. That's okay because at the end of the day, what we do get, I think, is very splendid, and especially too, as I mentioned, the fact that we're getting the Mystic is, I think, a real cause for celebration. Because of its relative lack of availability for many years, at least as far as I understood it. So this was my first time to watch the film The Mystic on the occasion of this release. So that, I think, the fact that the film is being made available is itself, I think, its own reward, very justifiably and very celebratory. So well done for that. And then, of course, the other films too, their inclusion, their presentation in this way, I think, speak volumes. So, and I'm speaking, of course, of The Unknown and the film Freaks. So again, with some minor points that I might say in terms of critical points that I personally felt. Overall, I'm very happy with this release. I think it's a fine release in the 2023 Criterion canon. And now it's December as I'm making this video, and I'm reaching the tail end of the year, and I might bring this film up again, or this set up again, when I speak about my favorite aspects of Criterion releases over this year of 2023. I mean, this was a very strong release. This is an incredibly strong release. And I must say, too, the fact that Freaks, the film Freaks, is now being made, it's been available before, of course, but the fact that it's being made in this way, and part of the Criterion collection now, it's, again, I think it's going to open the doors for a lot of conversation points about this work. People are going to watch this for the first time, I think. It's a film that is very, very historically significant. It's one that is just has ripple effects even now that are felt, and it's very, very effective film, incredibly effective, and it's complex to the max, which I think is it's a mark of a film that has great longevity and a type of sense about its say viewership and the active spectatorship, and also just the active engagement with cinema itself. I think there's a lot here to be said about how this is a truly unforgettable example of this type of engagement. So for that alone, I think it's worth the price of admission, as the saying goes. So what a strong set this is. I was thrilled when I heard about it, and as I've explored it a number of times now, and now I have the great opportunity to discuss a little bit about it, I am very, very impressed indeed. So this is the Criterion Collection release, Tod Browning's Sideshow Shockers. All right, my dear friends, so that's it for now. So until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great movies, including the works of Tod Browning, including the films in the Criterion Collection, and beyond. So until the next video, my dear friends, stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.